I call the next part of the dinner special podcast the pressure cooker. I'm
Okay.
going to ask you 7 fast and fun questions that we want to know your answers to. Are you up for it?
Sure, go for it.
Awesome. Number one, which food shows or cooking shows do you watch?
So I actually don't have cable right now, so I don't really watch any cooking shows, but I really like watching cooking videos online. So I love watching Green Kitchen Stories videos, um, and just I like some bloggers who do videos, so I will watch those kinds of things. But I guess back in the day, I used to watch. I used to like to watch. Um, what is it called? There's a chef here in Canada. Her name is Anna Olson. She's a pastry chef. So I used to like to watch her show. I can't even remember what it's called. But I think because she does things that I'm so unfamiliar with, like baking is something that I'm learning now, and I absolutely love baking, but it's not something that comes naturally to me. And so I loved watching her show back in the day.
Awesome. Number two, you already named a few food bloggers, but what are some food blogs or websites that we have to know about?
That you have to know about. Okay, so I'm going to try to pick blogs that you probably haven't heard about. Well, actually, that's not even true. You've probably heard about them. Um, so, another colleague of mine, her name is Ashley Colburn, and she writes a blog called Butterfly Food. And she has some of the most stunning photography, and she is just a really lovely person. But her photography is, I think, some of the best out there. And she recently had a photo of hers used as a cover photo for a National Geographic book. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah,
Cool. So
she's
definitely check her out. The butterfly food?
fly food.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, she's. Um, gosh, I follow so many blogs. Um, and I'm sure you know about all of them. So it's kind of tricky to say, but um, so another blog that I just discovered within the last few months, and she's now been nominated for a Savor Award. So it's not really like I'm sure everybody knows, but Faring Well. It again like really beautiful photography, and also like a nice peek into her life. She lives in Colorado, and I feel like it's always really nice to be able to see an element of people's lives beyond that. And so there's also like some nature photos incorporated into her blog and into her Instagram feed, and I really love that. And I would say, I mean, I mentioned Kelly before as well, but Kelly, I would say, was one of from the Gouda Life is one of the bloggers that I first discovered when I was starting to blog myself. And I remember like linking to her blog something that I really liked. And she wrote me back this really lovely email thanking me for linking to her. And it was, I remember at the time thinking like, it was so nice of her because really, I mean, there is nobody reading my blog. And she had, already had such a big following, I'm sure. And but her photography really inspired me when I was starting out, and also she's always been really supportive of me as a blogger and professionally. And now we work together on this blog called Baked. So I think she's a really cool and unique. She's got a really unique style of like moody photography that you should check out.
Awesome. Now, number three, who do you follow on Pinterest, Instagram, or Facebook that make you happy?
Hmm. So I don't really follow people on Pinterest or Facebook really that much. But Instagram, I would say. So does it have to be food related?
Nope. It can be
No.
anything that brings you inspiration and joy.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm sure you've heard of this Instagram account called Mama's Gone City, and it's typically like photos of her children with their pets, and typically one child with a dog. But I'm a huge animal lover, and so I love seeing photos of animals, and particularly animals and kids. And so it just, every time I look through her feed, I'm always just so happy. Was the question one person or
Any people.
any people? Oh my gosh, these are such tough questions because I follow so many great people. Um,
Well, we could just start with Mama Gone City.
yeah, okay.
Yeah? Okay. Now, number 4. What is the most unusual or treasured item you have in your kitchen?
Um, Perhaps not unusual, but treasured for sure, is my cast iron skillet. I use it for almost everything. It's amazing for pancakes. It's amazing for like pan frying anything, for making tortillas. I make fried eggs on it. And it even like it's not maybe the best use of this, but because it's always out, I always like quickly saute spinach or kale or something like that for an easy meal, like all in the same pan. Um, and that pan was probably $20 and it's going to last me for my whole life. I always recommend that if people are wondering if they should get 5 or 10 things in their kitchen, I think a cast iron skillet is a really awesome thing to have.
Great. Now, number 5. Name one ingredient you used to dislike that you now love.
Brussels sprouts. When I was a kid, and actually asparagus, like anything that kind of had like a pungent, earthy flavor. Really, I was not a vegetable fan, ironically, when I was a kid. Like I used to eat them, and my mom would probably put like butter and sugar on things or butter and salt, like things to make me like that or make me eat them more often. But as I've gotten older, my palate has fully, I think, been trained actually, because I actually recall when I was in university in my undergrad, I would make myself eat vegetables so that I would like I was old enough to know that I should eat them. And so then I started making myself just eat more of them. And eventually I started liking them. And I kind of figured out that if I ate something 3 times, I tended to like it by the 3rd or 4th time. And now I just love those things. And in fact, so asparagus, as an example, I just made an asparagus kimchi that I'm going to be posting for a column that I write. And like years ago, I never would have eaten kimchi or asparagus. So I'm really into things, I guess, with like a lot of more pungent flavors now.
Cool. That sounds really interesting. I've never had or tried asparagus kimchi, but definitely look out for that one.
Yeah.
Now, number 6. What are a few cookbooks that make your life better?
That make my life better. I would say, so Mark Bittman's How to Cook Everything Vegetarian is a really good like dictionary to have in your kitchen. So if you're in a pinch and you have a vegetable or you have a grain or anything and you're like, what should I do with this? You can literally open up the book and go to the word millet or to the word broccoli, and it will give you several recipes. But it also has this great resource of like tying things together. So there will be like a number of sauces, and then there will be like a table later in the book that says, like 10 things you can add to tacos, or like 15 ways to make a sandwich better, and it will incorporate other recipes from the book. So it's like also it's showing you how to make simple things, but then it's also showing you how to incorporate them into different dishes. And then it's just also like a great resource for really for just like basics. So I think now it's in my mind that I can never remember how long to boil eggs for if I want them like soft, medium, or hard. And it's just something that has never stayed with me. And Mark Bittman has like, I always go to his book to remember. I think I now remember. But so like simple things like that, it's wonderful.
Right.
I also really love Donna Hayes, any Donna Hay books, because they're beautiful to look at, and they're also, her recipes are really simple. Usually, using anywhere from between 5 and 10 ingredients, depending, and I would say 10 is rare. So they're very simple, they're very straightforward, and they're really beautiful and really tasty. So those would be kind of my my go-tos of like resources. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, finally, number 7, what song or album just makes you want to cook?
So I don't have a particular song or album, but I am notorious for going on to Spotify, now that Spotify is a thing, and searching under the mood section and finding anything that's like folky or acoustic. And I think like when I think about cooking, I always, if I were to envision cooking, no matter what, like if even, you cook in a restaurant, it's like the opposite of this. But my vision of cooking is like in this relaxed, airy kitchen, windows open and a breeze coming through, and you're like sipping a glass of wine and you're laughing with a friend and you're like just casually, slowly easing into whatever meal you're going to have. And it's like intentional and joyful and thoughtful and all of that stuff. And so I feel like that music often brings that vibe to what I'm doing. So it's not a direct recommendation, but certainly Spotify has a lot to offer in that realm.
Perfect. Well, congratulations, Kris. You have officially survived the pressure cooker.